Throughout time, there have been men to whom justice has been more important than life itself. From these ranks come 4 men, prepared to fight valiantly on the side of justice wherever the need may be. Joined together in this cause, they are the 4 Just Men.
No, I'm not going to try it. That's that.
It's the only chance of saving her life.
You admit that this stuff of yours, what's it called?
Anocazin.
Anocazin. You admit that it's never been properly tested here.
For 2 years, I've been trying to persuade your American medical authorities to listen to me.
Doctor Legari.
Carl.
Oh.
Dr. Legari?
I knew Mrs. Trescow many years ago in Italy, before the war. I was licensed to practice there then.
Any foreign doctor's perfectly free to take his qualifying examinations in America?
I didn't come here to start a practice. I came here to help people suffering from blood diseases like Mrs. Trescow's.
With an untried drug?
Antiseptics were untried once.
I've got other calls to make. Your mother will be all right for a while. She'll sleep easily enough now. I'll call in again later.
So, you refuse to give her an injection of anocazin?
I warn you very strongly, Mr. Legari, against interfering with my patient in any way. You probably know that practicing medicine without a license is a criminal offense in this country. I'll take this. I'm afraid the charge against you will be more serious than criminal mispractice. The charge against you will be murder.
Murder? It wasn't the injection of anocazin that caused her death. That didn't cause the hemorrhage.
That's for the authorities to decide. After I call the police?
No.
Don't be a fool, man. If you try to run away...
Hello? Who's calling? Rome? But it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Ryder's asleep.
Asleep? Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Ryder's been working on a brief since yesterday morning. He just finished it an hour ago, and he absolutely collapsed.
I hope I didn't wake you. Ah, good.
What? I'm one of his law students. I'm working on it for him. Typing it up. Typing. T-Y-P.
If it's one of your cafe society friends, tell him to sleep it off.
It's Mr. Picari from Rome.
Oh. Hello, Rico. No, that's all right. What is it? Dr. Legari? Yeah, I read about the case in the papers.
I knew him a little in Naples before the war. He had a brilliant future as a doctor and a scientist, but he was too honest to get mixed up in politics. He went to France, and during the war, I heard that the Nazis had arrested him.
Ah, I see. He seems to have had a pretty tough time of it. Yes, I'll do anything I can for him. The trouble is, he's still on the run and the police are looking for him. Yeah. I think the indictment's coming before the grand jury tomorrow. Right, Rico. I'll see what I can do. She's one of my law students. She was typing. Typing. T-Y-P. Good night, Rico.
Let me know as soon as we get the indictment. We'll call the FBI in. This could be a federal case, crossing the state line to avoid arrest.
Well, do you think Ligari's left the state?
He can't stay hidden for long. He hasn't any dough.
I better get back for the verdict. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Tom. You on this Ligari case?
Yeah.
What do you know about Ligari?
He was in trouble during the war in Europe and later in South America. Couldn't get along with the government there. Came to the U.S. 2 years ago.
But do they think he had something in this drug of his?
It's a matter of opinion, and the whole case could hinge on it.
Murder, first degree. The grand jury decided that Ligari's drug was the direct cause of Mrs. Treskel's death.
Oh, hold on, operator. Mr. Ryder's just coming in. It's Paris. Probably Tim Collier. Got any leads on Ligari?
Nothing. And if I'm going to do him any good, I've got to get to him before the police turn him in as a wanted criminal. Hello? Yes. Hiya, Tim.
I heard from Rico that you were on this Ligari business. I don't know if it means anything, but he was very friendly with a woman here in Paris. They were together in the resistance.
Well, how does a woman in Paris have to do anything with his disappearing here in New York?
Because she's not in Paris anymore. She's been in the States the last 3 months. She rented a house in Westchester County. I got the town right here. Oh, yeah. I hope this helps, Jeff.
Huh? Yeah. Madame Berger?
Yes?
May I talk to you a moment?
I'm rather busy, I'm afraid.
It's about Dr. Ligari.
Doctor? I don't know anyone.
You and he were in the resistance together.
How did you know that?
A friend of mine in Paris, an American newspaper man.
You are a journalist?
No. I'm a lawyer. My name's Jeff Ryder. Can I see Dr. Ligari? I'd like to help him.
I'd like to help him too, Mr. Ryder, if I knew where he was. Unfortunately, after the war, we lost touch completely. I haven't seen him for years.
Hurt your hand?
Oh, slight burn. I'm not used to your American stoves.
No servants in a big house like this?
I came here for a rest, to be alone. I like to manage for myself.
You didn't manage to put on that bandage all by yourself?
There is a doctor in the village.
An American doctor would have secured the bandage with adhesive tape. He wouldn't have tied it like that. Look, if I found my way here, how long do you think it'll take the police?
I told you, he is not here.
You had servants. A couple from the village. You fired them 3 weeks ago, the day Ligari ran away.
What do you want with him?
I want Ligari to give himself up. I want him to stand trial.
I've already been tried. I'm convicted of murder in your newspapers.
Victor.
I hope you realize that by hiding here, you are involving Madame Berger as an accessory.
Victor risked his life for me many times during the war, Mr. Ryder.
It'll make a big difference, especially to public opinion, if he gives himself up.
Oh, it's too late. Nothing now will ever change public opinion towards my work.
Do you think your drug killed that woman?
But of course not. The hemorrhage was a freak accident.
Well, if you can prove that in court, you might be able to convince the authorities that Anna Cousin...
I've had enough experience of authorities to know that you can convince them of anything, except the truth.
You're going to get a fair trial here, and I'm going to defend you. But first, you've got to give yourself up.
Oh.
I'm going to try to make a deal for you. If you surrender yourself to a friend of mine on the police force, Madame Berger's name will be kept out of it.
I mean it.
You've been committed to saving lives, Doctor, not taking them. You're not going to shoot me.
Afraid you're right. I don't want to cause you any more trouble. All right, you go ahead and call your police.
The prosecution intend to present witnesses who will state that Mrs. Trescall died of a cerebral hemorrhage. We also intend to prove that that hemorrhage was brought about by the injection of an unauthorized drug known as anocazin, a drug developed by the accused and administered by him to Mrs. Trescall in direct defiance of the attending doctor's orders.
Come on, move along. Move, I said. Come on, move along. The trial's not open to the public now. Move.
All right, we'll go.
Come on, move it.
Well, at least you got the judge to keep everybody out of court with the reporters. That's a break, the way public feeling's running against Ligari.
Call the first witness, Miss Maria Trescall.
Miss Maria Trescall.
We haven't got anything to worry about from her, have we, Jeff?
I don't know. She wouldn't talk to me.
Why did you go and get Mr. Ligari that night?
He was an old friend of my mother from Italy.
Then there was no medical reason for his visit. Your mother didn't send for him as a doctor.
Mr. Ligari didn't have a license to practice medicine here. My mother knew that.
Your witness.
If Dr. Ligari, you always called him Dr. Ligari, didn't you?
My mother did.
She looked on him as a doctor?
It was a habit from the old country, I suppose.
If you went to get Dr. Ligari that night just as a friend, why did he take his medical things with him?
I don't know. I didn't ask him to.
Miss Trescall, if Dr. Ligari is convicted, it may mean that thousands of people suffering from the same blood disease as your mother will be kept from the benefit of his knowledge, his years of research.
Objection.
Sustained.
I am only trying to impress upon the witness the importance of her evidence, the importance of her telling the truth. Now, Miss Trescall, when you went to see Dr. Ligari that night, you begged him to bring the anocazin with him, didn't you?
No. I didn't ask him to do anything but visit with my mother. She was calling for him.
As a doctor who might be able to save her life?
As an old friend. As an old friend and nothing else.
And yet Dr. Ligari immediately packed a hypodermic syringe and a supply of anocazin and brought it with him. Is that so?
Yes.
Now, after Dr. Hart left, just what did happen?
Mr. Ligari gave my mother this injection of his.
Well, he'd been warned by Dr. Hart about charges of malpractice if he did anything. And yet you say he went right ahead and completely ignored that warning. Why?
I don't know.
In fact, you asked him to do it, didn't you?
No.
Because you and your mother believed in him as a doctor.
No.
Believed he could save your mother's life.
No.
Miss Trescall, has anyone tried to frighten you by suggesting that if you told the truth about what happened that night, you'd be implicated in your mother's death?
Objection.
Sustained.
That's all.
Call Dr. Richard Hart.
Dr. Richard Hart.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Was Maria Trescall lying or not?
What difference does it make?
Can't you see if her testimony stands, it looks as though you used her mother as a guinea pig. Someone to test your drug on.
Supposing I were to deny it, would anyone believe me?
Mrs. Trescall died of a cerebral hemorrhage.
And in your opinion, this hemorrhage was caused by Mr. Ligari's injection?
From what I understand of the properties of anocazin, it might quite possibly cause a cerebral hemorrhage.
Then it was anocazin that killed Mrs. Trescall.
Objection.
Sustained.
I'll rephrase the question. In your opinion, Dr. Hart, was it the anocazin which brought about the hemorrhage that caused Mrs. Trescall's death?
There's no other possible explanation. Yes.
Your witness?
Was Dr. Ligari already there before you arrived that night?
Yes.
Had he attempted to treat Mrs. Trescall in any way before your arrival?
No.
When When you arrived, he first asked you if you would give Mrs. Trescall an injection of anacazin.
Yes. I refused.
On the grounds that you knew nothing about the drug.
I'd heard it talked about by other doctors.
Have you ever heard of its causing a cerebral hemorrhage?
I had heard that it had never been properly tested.
That's all. Thank you.
You're a senior professor of pathology there, Dr. Wayne?
Yes?
How long have you been on the staff?
10 years.
You're acquainted with Mr. Victor Ligari?
I am.
Will you please tell the court when it was that you first met?
Mr. Ligari came to see me at the hospital about 1.5 years ago.
Yes, please, go on.
We had several long talks. Mr. Ligari had told me that he'd been working in the field of biotics. He discovered a new drug, anocazin, which he thought might be effective in the treatment of certain blood diseases.
What was your reaction when he told you this?
I explained to him that a new discovery of this kind had to be submitted to the proper authorities so that it could be analyzed and tested under controlled conditions.
And what was his attitude to you when you offered to help him in this way?
He became very angry.
Has he ever made any effort whatsoever to have this discovery of his tested?
Not that I know.
Now, in spite of Mr. Ligari's attitude, I understand you carried out several tests on anocazin yourself.
Laboratory tests.
What were your findings?
That the drug was not sufficiently developed to risk experiments on human beings.
So anocazin had never, ever been experimented with on a human being before Mr. Ligari injected Mrs. Trescall that night?
Not to my knowledge.
Now, what, in your opinion, Doctor, was its effect on Mrs. Trescall?
Caused the formation of a blood clot which brought on a cerebral hemorrhage.
Now, in your opinion as a pathologist, Dr. Wayne, Mrs. Trescall's disease alone could not have caused such a blood clot.
It's very unlikely.
Her age, her general physical condition would not have accounted for her death at that time.
No.
In fact, if Mrs. Trescall had been a normal, young, healthy person, anocazin would still have killed her.
Objection, Jeff.
I'll put the question another way. Anocazin would have killed Mrs. Trescall no matter what her physical condition.
Well, it's hard to
Your
say.
previous answers would have led us to believe that, Doctor.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, in your opinion, anocazin is a deadly poison, deadly enough to kill even a normal, healthy person.
Well, in some cases,
it seems to have killed Mrs. Trescall within 15 minutes.
Yes?
Death within less than 15 minutes. Wouldn't you call that a deadly poison, Doctor?
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor. That's all. Your witness?
No questions.
The defense doesn't wish to cross-examine the witness.
The defense waives the right of cross-examination, Your Honor.
The state rests its case, Your Honor. Thank you, Doctor.
They convict him yet? Just killing is too good for him.
You've been inside. What's it look like?
Well, it looks like that drug of his done the trick. Open and shut case.
That'll be the day.
Hey, come on now, folks. What are you hanging around for?
Dr. Ligari, you have been working on the development of anocazin for a good many years now.
Most of my life.
And when Dr. Wayne suggested you go through the usual government channels, you felt he was putting you off, wasting your time.
I have no idea what was in Dr. Wayne's mind.
You've had unfortunate experiences with government bureaus, haven't you? First in Italy, under Mussolini, then in France during the occupation, and finally in South America, where the government confiscated your records because you wouldn't give them a monopoly on your discovery.
Where did you get that information?
And that was the reason you were forced to abandon your work in South America, wasn't it?
Well, at least they only accused me of being too independent, not of being a murderer.
That's why you ran away after Mrs. Trescall's death, wasn't it? You had devoted your whole life to saving lives, and here they're accusing you of murdering someone you
I ran
can't-
away because I knew what to expect. This! I must warn the accused that he is not helping his own case with these outbursts.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Dr. Ligari, when you came to America, you had already proved to your own satisfaction that you had discovered something of great potential value in the treatment of certain blood diseases.
That was my belief, yes.
You made numerous tests on animals.
Yes.
That proved that anocazin was not a deadly poison.
I thought so, but...
In your opinion, Dr. Ligari, could anocazin cause anyone's death?
Mr. Ryder, who do you think will be interested in my opinion now?
All right, then, let's get down to the facts. The facts of that night. This is the bottle of anacarsin, marked Exhibit A by the prosecution. Is it the same bottle you used that night?
Yes.
Then it holds the remains of the drug you gave Mrs. Treskel.
Yes, that's right.
How much of a dose did you give her?
2 cc's in that solution.
I'm going to fill this syringe. Will you tell me when I reach that mark?
There.
Thank you. Now, where was the injection made?
In the forearm.
Thank you. I don't know much of medical practice, so will you tell me exactly where?
There, but I don't see what.
Thank you. Two cc's, the same injection given Mrs. Treskel. With the court's permission, the defense is prepared to continue its case.
I cannot condone this melodramatic behavior, Mr. Ryder.
I am only trying to prove that Dr. Wayne is wrong. That anacarsin is not a deadly poison.
Mr. Ryder.
Within 15 minutes, Your Honor. That was Dr. Wayne's opinion. In 15 minutes at 4:25, I'll rest the case for the defense.
Mr. Ryder, I think you'd better put yourself in a doctor's hands immediately.
Very well, Your Honor. I put myself in Dr. Ligari's hands.
Mr. Ryder, I swear to you, you're in no danger. No danger at all. There could be no possible connection between Mrs. Treskel's death and the injection of anacarsin.
If there are no objections, Your Honor, I would like to recall Miss Maria Treskel to the stand and reserve the right to recall Dr. Ligari before final summation. I'm asking you to think again, Miss Treskel. This time, tell the truth. Didn't you go to Dr. Ligari to ask him to use his anacarsin in the last desperate attempt to save your mother's life? No one can blame you for that.
In all fairness, I must warn the witness of possible charges of perjury against her.
Yes. You are right. I am sorry for what I said. I was afraid.
After Dr. Hart left, why did you hesitate about injecting Mrs. Treskel? Were you in doubt about the drug?
No. Because I knew I had no license to practice.
Yet you finally did inject anacarsin. Why?
Because it was the last chance to try and save an old friend's life. I couldn't bear to let her die without doing everything I could to try and save her.
I am not asking you to excuse Dr. Ligari's hostile attitude toward the medical authorities in this country. I only want you to try and understand them. A man who has been persecuted all his life, not for any crimes he committed, but for standing by his principles as a doctor and as a man. Dr. Ligari told you why he gave Mrs. Treskel the injection. It only remains for you to decide, beyond any reasonable doubt, whether that injection did in fact kill her. If it did, despite all mitigating circumstances, he is guilty of manslaughter. Dr. Wayne says it did, in his opinion. He says that a single injection of anacarsin is sufficient to cause death. If that is so, then I should have been dead 2 minutes ago.
What'll happen to him, Jeff?
We'll get a suspended sentence for practicing without a license.
And then? What'll he do then?
That depends. Depends on what he makes of his new discovery.
His new discovery?
Yeah. The discovery that not all the people in the world are against him.